Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video. Today we're currently top 500 in the world on ladder. I'm going to be playing with the best Xbow cycle deck in the game right now. We're going to be trying to push even higher on trophies, definitely above 7,000 trophies, so hope you guys enjoy the video and let's hope we can get some nice matches today. So this deck has been kind of coming into popularity over the last few seasons, kind of because of how weak the normal Xbow cycle variants have been, as we also find our first match against IMT Minogu. Gonna give him the good luck and see Skarmy just gonna log that off. So I feel like this deck is definitely the best Xbow deck in the meta, mostly because of the Archer Queen, but also because of the Cannon and the Rocket. Rocket kind of provides a unique win condition alternative in case you can't get an Xbow connection, and Cannon is just a better version of Tesla, I feel like, with the exception of not being able to hit air, of course. But gonna Rocket this bowler. We do see Bats, Skarmy, and Bowler, which I don't think is a very good sign, actually, because he is going to probably have Giant Graveyard. I'm gonna pop my ability, though, get the most out of my Queen, and set up for a defense. So this is probably the most toxic version of Giant Graveyard, at least for an Xbow player to go against, because they have Night Witch and Bowler, both of which are just really annoying to deal with. There's the Graveyard, so I'm gonna Fire Spirit to take out the Bats and splash everything, and then get a nice log in. So log is super important on defense in all of these Giant Graveyard matchups, because if the Graveyard's getting tanked for, then you kind of want to get a nice log after all the skeletons accumulate for a while. So we are down a little bit of damage right now, but I can maybe try and get a connection since he just used Giant, and it isn't in cycle right away. But the reason this is so hard is because he also has a Bowler in this deck, which means I can't actually go in yet, because he will just use Bowler to counter my Xbow. So he does go for arrows on the Queen, which I think is a pretty good trade for me, because it's basically giving me a 2 elixir Queen. So just going to go for an Xbow here, and he does go for a Bowler plus Bats, Fire Spirit. Okay, unfortunately he doesn't take out the Bats. We still get a really nice connection though, and he goes for a very late Skarmy, which I'll just log off. Queen should get at least 2 hits as well, and that is going to be a very nice start. Yeah, 2 hits there, and he does go for arrows as well, which was completely unnecessary because I don't think it would have gotten another hit anyways. So yeah, I don't know why my opponent's spamming so many emotes. I mean, he has a pretty much a 100-0 matchup, I would say. I mean, with the Bowler in there as well. Thank God I'm not playing 3.0 at least with archers, because arrows plus Bowler and all of that would just be a disaster. I'm actually going to go for a Rocket, even though it's super aggressive, because it is technically value on the Bowler, and I think I can actually win this one now, since I just need one more Rocket to finish the game off. So he does go for a Giant, probably going to Graveyard now. So again, like I said, this log timing is very important. Fortunately, my Fire Spirit missed a lot of the Bats, but I think I should be okay. Yeah, we took like maybe 1,000 damage or so. Okay, second Fire Spirit also missed, which was kind of bad. But I'm going to try and go for Skeletons to distract this Bowler a bit. Okay, we take 1 Bowler boulder. Okay, 2 actually, which is pretty bad. But I still think we can defend this Graveyard. I mean, he's probably not going to get too much damage, especially if I get a nice log off again. So just going to go for the log right here. And that is going to be very nice defense. So I mean, it got very tight at the end, but considering that's such an impossible matchup, I'm really glad we were able to win. And I really think it was mainly due to my opponent's kind of bad gameplay, I have to say, because he just went so aggressive at the start, allowed me to outcycle his Giant, and just did not really bode well for him after that. We got a huge connection, early lock. But I'll definitely take that. Really nice win against a super hard matchup. Gonna put me at top 400. Alright, and we found the next match. Not actually sure what my opponent's name is, but we are 1 game away from 7,000 trophies, so hopefully we can get a nice win here. Gonna give my opponent the good luck as he goes for a Drill and Wallbreakers. Okay, so that's actually a pretty smart play. Gonna be forced to go for a Cannon. So that placement, as you could see, distracts both towers from the Drill. So the Wallbreakers do need more than just a log as a response. So, kind of forced to overcommit on defense there, but let's see what responses my opponent has for this Archer Queen. Royal Recruits, very interesting. I am not actually sure what this deck is going to be. I thought it might be, like, Mega Knight Wallbreakers. Okay, he goes for a Princess at the bridge. Knight should counter all of that, and then I can just take it out with a Cannon afterwards. We do take quite a bit of damage there, unfortunately, but it's not exactly easy to defend a big push like that. Gonna kite this Ghost into my Cannon. Also gonna Fire Spirit for this Wallbreaker. And unfortunately it still gets a hit, but I think I should be able to come back. I mean, I'm not down too much so far, but really interesting Royal Recruits Goblin Drill deck. I think he might have E-Barbs in here as well. Actually reminds me of a player called Pedal, who plays a deck very similar to this at top ladder. It might actually be the Pedal deck, who knows, but Gonna go for an Xbow with this queen. I don't think he's back to his recruits actually, so this should actually be a pretty nice opportunity for me. He is back now, but since I do have my queen alive, I can actually maybe still get a connection here. Gonna have to commit to the right side recruits though. I don't want to sacrifice too much damage just to try and possibly get a connection. Also, this queen will still force more elixir out. Yeah, as we do force out the drill, which I think the queen will still get a couple hits on tower unless he responds even further. So yeah, we do get 3 hits there, which is very nice. I'm going to go for an Xbow at 6, as he goes for a princess at the bridge, which is really good because, yeah, he just barely, I think we were about the same elixir there, so he just barely had enough for the ghost, and I can easily just kite this ghost into my cannon if necessary. I don't actually even need to, I think, because my left side tower is so much healthier than my right side tower, so here I can just kind of use my tower damage as a resource, and even my tower's up. He does have a magic archer. I'm just going to rocket it, honestly, even though it is a -2 trade, just because I feel like I have enough of a lead where I can kind of afford to do that. I'm just going to go for skeletons and then fire spirit afterwards to take out this drill. We do take quite a bit of damage, unfortunately, because I didn't have login cycle, but I think that was okay. And he goes for a ghost in the right. I think I was going to go for an Xbow, but I actually think it's probably better if I don't, because I know he'll just be able to go for recruits and then maybe get a counter push out of it, so I think it's much better if I just defend and sit back, as opposed to trying to be super aggressive. One Wallbreaker is getting awfully close, but thankfully Xbow helps out, and now I think we can just rocket the tower because we got a very successful defense and just went for his drill push, so he won't be able to go for it again for quite a bit. Princess at the bridge is unfortunately going to lock on, but it's not really too big of a deal because this time my right side tower is healthier. Just going to pull this bandit all the way in, and then I can just rocket. Actually, I don't even need to log the princess or anything. It didn't really do that much damage over time, so that's just going to be a really nice win against Royal Recruits Drill Wallbreakers. Very interesting deck there, not really a matchup that you face very often, but I think the cannon and the queen both put in quite a lot of work there. That's going to put me above 7,000 trophies. Alright guys, found next match against Sparky, and he is quite a bit higher than me in trophies, so if I do win this one, should give me quite a boost in trophies myself. Just going to go for a fire spirit as he matches it with a heal spirit, which is not super popular, but it usually means either Sparky or 3 Musketeers, or maybe Bridgespam as well, but those are the only decks that come to mind that run the heal spirit, and there is the Goblin Giant. So I'm definitely not going to go in or anything, because I also just used my queen. I think I'm just going to set up for a defense and try and find out more about his deck. So usually with the Goblin Giant, it's going to be Sparky Rage, but we'll see what exactly he has. The queen is going to do a great job. He actually mirrors his Goblin Giant, level 16 Goblin Giant coming down, but I'm just going to go for an Xbow in the right, and he is not going to have much elixir to defend it because he just spent 7 on that Goblin Giant. Goes for a mini P.E.K.K.A. I don't want to go skeletons right away because I thought he was back to heal spirit maybe, but I guess not. But just going to cut it into the middle then. Back to another cannon as well. And raging level 16 Goblin Giant is going to be quite threatening on my tower. Definitely going to have to log the spear goblins afterwards, but we are still going to come out on top in terms of that trade because I got his right tower down to about 2,000 HP. And he got mine down to 2.3k, so I think we're still looking pretty good in this match so far. So Goblin Giant Sparky mirror, not as easy as you might think because he does have the ability to just mirror his Goblin Giants, and then after you defend the first one it's going to be more problematic. Also, even though I do have the rocket to just kind of hard counter the Sparky, it's not super simple, again because he has the mirror. If he didn't have mirror, I think it would be a lot easier, like a free matchup hard counter, but since he does, I actually think it's going to be a bit more difficult. I actually think with 3.0 Expo Cycle, I saw some people talking about this where they don't actually think this is even 3.0's matchup against this mirror version, so we'll see. You're going to go for an Xbow inwards, and we actually got a really nice timing there because he just went for a Goblin Giant in the back, so going to Fire Spirit to predict maybe an E-Wiz or something. Looks like he's just going to mirror his Goblin Giant, makes sense. Going to go for a Knight instantly because I do want to protect my Xbow from the Goblin Giant Spear Goblins, and get back to another cannon, so going to kite that Goblin Giant all the way across the map. Will also help out against the one on the right, and okay, almost misclicked an Xbow there, was trying to go for a Fire Spirit instead, but that is basically going to be game, I think, because we got a perfect sequence there. He's back to another Goblin Giant, but I'm just going to go for a cannon and Knight. Played my cannon really low without really meaning to, but that is thankfully still in pulling distance. Queen on the left gets quite a bit of damage. And Mini.P.E.K.K.A at the bridge, level 16, going to be quite threatening, but the cannon is still alive from before. I'm going to go Fire Spirit up high, just to make sure that Mini.P.E.K.K.A doesn't get healed up, and now we can pretty much just rocket his tower for the win. So I feel like my opponent just kind of went all in there, you know, letting me get an Xbow connection and trying to make a huge push happen. But thankfully we were able to buckle up on defense and get a pretty nice defense going. So we were able to win that one against Goblin Giant Sparky Mirror. He's spamming good luck, so maybe he's a bit upset. I guess it's not too hard of a matchup still with Rocket, but I think with 3.0 with Archers and Fireball it is definitely a bit harder. But yeah, plus 42 trophies is absolutely insane. They're going to put me at top 200. Alright guys, we found another match against what looks to be a Japanese player. Just going to go for a Fire Spirit at the bridge to start out. Always a super safe starting play. I would actually say it's probably the best starting play with this deck because cycling the log is usually really good as well, but it could put you in trouble if you're against log bait. It has happened to me a few times where I cycle log first play and then they go for a barrel at the same exact time. I kind of get screwed over, but I'm going to go for an Xbow because I actually think this might be a Mortar deck since he does have the Miner and Bats, and looks like it is going to be Miner Mortar. I think he also has Musketeer in here with the Skelly King, of course. Going to go for a Cannon because that is going to be quite problematic with all the skeletons, and he's definitely going to pop the ability here. Although I don't actually think I need to respond to this. Yeah, I don't think so. I took one skeleton hit there, but that's totally fine because I was technically a wasted 2 elixir. I definitely think it was worth it for him to go for that ability, but still really glad it didn't really do too much for me. I'm going to cycle a log, and he might go for a Miner or Mortar here, so I do want to kind of be a bit careful. I'm going to cycle my skeletons in the back just to predict the Miner possibly. He does go for a Mortar, so I'm going to try and catch it with my Knight, and okay, that was really suboptimal. I just kind of waited too long, so that's just going to be a dead Xbow, unfortunately. I actually think if I got that timing correct, I might have gotten a small connection there, but it is fine. It is going to be Miner Mortar, and the reason I'm going so aggressive in single is because usually Xbow cycle against any Mortar deck, except for Icebow, I guess, you do want to play really aggressively in single, because the matchup does usually get harder as you go along the game in double and triple elixir, because they can just keep spamming defensive mortars, you know, poison log your Xbows out, get minor chip damage on tower, and it can be annoying. I also think I'm not really sure how to feel about Rocket in this matchup, because Fireball is definitely going to be more helpful at taking out defensive mortars and Musketeers, etc., whereas if he just spaces his troops out, Musketeer high, Mortar high, I can't actually ever really rocket them. So it's going to be a bit more annoying, but I'm going to try and catch this Miner with the Fire Spirit. Going to go Skeleton just to stall the Bats for a little bit, and he might pop the ability, but I do have Log and Cycle, so I'm not too worried about it. Just going to be a free Log, basically. I kind of messed up the spacing of that Log, actually, but it's fine. Still going to keep going in, and he goes for Mortar. Now he's probably going to poison my Xbow, yeah, which is fair enough. Going to pressure with a Queen at the bridge on the right, and he does have to go for a Skarmy, I think, so I'm going to pre-Log, actually. Predict the Skarmy, and looks like he actually just didn't have enough elixir at the time, or he knew I was going to prediction log, so he just didn't want to play it in time. But either way, that does kind of equalize us and puts me back in a position to maybe win this game. It was kind of dicey before. Gonna predict a Musketeer with my Knight. Looks like we did catch the Miner, I think. Okay, no, unfortunately not, although we did get a nice placement still. But Xbow is going to be on tower, even if it's brief. We do get a small connection, and that is going to be really nice. So as the match progresses, it's definitely going to be harder to get an Xbow connection, so I'm just going to rocket tower. This is what I was talking about. Can't really do anything against that defensive mortar. I mean, obviously I can't go in, because it's just going to get feeding. It's just going to feed the mortar value pretty much, but can't really rocket the mortar either. There's no point in that at all, since it is only 4 elixir, and that wouldn't even get me much, so just rocketing the tower there, I think, was the right play. Gonna log all these skeletons back, and yeah, I think now we can pretty much just play pretty defensively and get some rocket value on, or get some rocket cycling going on my opponent's tower. He does get forced to go for a Skarmy there as well, so I'm going to go in this time because he just spent quite a lot of elixir actually. Going to once again predict the Musketeer with my Knight, and he does go for a Miner, so yeah, it looks like he's just trying to defend this with a defensive mortar, which is fine, but we should hopefully get a small connection here because Knight is whittling down the mortar's HP. Okay, looks like he does get a Musketeer down, but I'm just going to rocket now because we just forced out his defense, and I don't think he can really punish us too hard for this. I'm going to catch the Bats with my Fire Spirit, and then Cannon will do a pretty good job at taking out the Miner. So yeah, I think now we just sit down and get ready for some defense, because there's no real point going in triple elixir, plus his tower is just in range of 2 fireballs, or 2 rockets rather. Also notice how I'm making sure that I don't play my fire spirits too close to the bats, because I do want to hit all of them and I don't want the fire spirit to die prematurely. Also, getting the queen down early means I can get the 3-card cycle, which is really overpowered, because I'm already back to another rocket in 3 cards, so that's going to be game. Pretty close match at the end there. I'm going to give my opponent the good game, as he gives the "this is fine" emote, but yeah, Mortar, I think that's a relatively even matchup, I guess, but pretty happy I was able to win that one. Alright guys, getting into hopefully our final match here against Strombax. If I do win this one, I'll be at an all-time new season highest in trophies for this season, so let's see if we can do it. Gonna go for Fire Spirit at the bridge once again. Very threatening. I mean, it does exactly the same damage as a fireball, so it is obviously very threatening. Gonna rocket the Archer Queen. Could be a mistake, because I just spent quite a lot on the left, honestly, with the log and Fire Spirit, so we'll see if I get punished for that, but a queen in the back, I think, is usually a pretty good play to just rocket it off. You see a cannon cart as well, so I'm actually not sure what this deck is going to be. Probably some kind of Bridgespam if I had to guess, but I'm just going to go for a queen of my own and then go skeletons last second to make sure this cannon cart doesn't get any damage on my tower. It does mirror his cannon cart up, which I'm actually pretty scared of, because that is a level 16 cannon cart. That's not something to mess around with, so I'm just going to set up for defense here. No point playing too aggressively, and I'm going to go for a cannon instead of Xbow, just because I have no idea what he has, so I'd rather play the cheaper card maybe and see if that does better. Batarem, so it looks like it is just going to be some kind of Bridgespam deck. Unfortunately, I do have to take some Barbarian damage in the right. I think it's fine, though, because I got quite a lot of damage in both lanes, and I would say I kind of overspent by maybe rocketing the queen was an overspend. I don't know, because I think it was definitely worth it, but obviously I was down about 3 elixir or so, since I also went Fire Spirit plus log, so I did get kind of punished for that, but looks like it's just going to be Bridgespam, and so if this deck doesn't have any big spells, then it should be pretty straightforward to win, because usually if they have like Mirror and Cannon Cart and all of that, it's usually a bit easier without them having a big spell. He does have Mother Witch though, which is going to be annoying because I don't have a Fireball, so I do want to be careful of how I use my skeletons in this matchup, and I kind of regretted that Xbow as soon as I played it, because I forgot he had the mirror, so Mirrored Cannon Cart comes down, which did kind of force me to predict the Cannon Cart with my Knight, but we'll see how it goes. It does go for E-Barbs as well, so definitely going to have to let the Xbow go, unfortunately, and I'll see if I can defend this with my Queen. Yeah, so I'm probably going to lose my Queen here as well, unfortunately, but I think on the bright side, he shouldn't have a big spell in a matchup like this, because he does have a lot of bridge spammy cards and just a lot of ground troops. We'll see though. I think he already revealed most of his deck, so Defensive Expo should put in quite a lot of work here. Gonna log all of this back, cannon for the mirrored cannon cart as well, and Fire Spirit to make sure it gets taken out. I don't want to mess around with that whatsoever. I'm going to go for a low set of skeletons here. Really nice play there, because I knew he had Mother Witch, so I was kind of scared of it, which is why I didn't go for skeletons right on top. I wanted to be kind of careful and not allow him to get any cursed hogs there. Going to go for a queen, and I think I might get a connection here. I'm going to go for a cannon to support this as well, and he does go for a cart. Just going to go skeletons, and I don't think he can afford to go for a Mother Witch on my skeletons on the left, because he does still have this defense to worry about. And that's going to be a connection right there. He does... Wow, he actually mirror zaps there, so I'm going to go for an Xbow, because he's also going to have to respond to the Fire Spirit. I'm going to predict the cannon cart with a Knight, and then same play, going to go for the cannon in the middle, which will pull the Batarem and also help out a bit with my Xbow on the right. So this is another reason that cannon is so good in this deck, and why cannon is basically the most broken building in the game right now, because it's so cheap, it has so much DPS, and the only real downside is its HP, but if you can protect it, which you can pretty well with an Xbow deck like this, then it's usually not really too big of a deal. And he just lost his queen there, so I'm actually going to go in because I have an offensive queen supporting, which will help quite a lot in shredding whatever he wants to get down. I'm going to go for a cannon as well, because he's probably going to go for a cart. Going to log this as well, go for skeletons to kite the ghost in, and Xbow is on the queen, so that's basically a dead queen. You never really want to go for a queen like that, and that is going to be Xbow on tower. So, wow, I actually almost misplaced a rocket on defense instead of defensive Xbow, but now we're pretty much in the driver's seat to just sit back and defend for the rest of the match. I got a really nice Xbow connection, and in a matchup like this where they have all this bridge spam and, you know, cannon cart, all of these heavy-duty, harder, expensive type cards, you usually want to go for defensive Xbow, get an advantage that way, and then try and make something happen. Gonna go for cannon, and okay, my screen just went gray, so this is because I have a bedtime mode set on my phone, so apologies for all of you guys if this kind of throws you off, kind of throws me off, but thankfully I can just rock it and finish the game off. But yeah, since it is 11 p.m, that's why the screen went grayscale, but I'm gonna turn that off real quick and be right back. Alright, so we are back, and we got a really nice win there against Cannon Cart Bridgespam with the mirror. Really nice, gonna put me at 7,078 trophies, rank 173 in the world. Really nice, with, once again, like I said, the best Expo deck in the meta right now. If you guys are struggling with 3 Expo cycle, definitely feel free to give this one a try, because it's definitely easier, less stressful to play. So with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.